Welcome to Gather for Wellness Radio, brought to you by gatherforwellness.com, where we bring wellness experts to you so you can listen, learn, implement, and thrive.
Hey there, I'm your host, Becky Litwicki, and I'm here today with episode number 15 and my awesome guest, Lisa Marie. She's a transformational nutrition coach and the founder of Kale is My Karma. When she was 11 years old, Lisa Marie decided to be a vegetarian and hasn't thought differently since then. While growing up, she struggled to overcome an eating disorder for many years, but has finally found several ways to stay out of those negative patterns. Now, she's passionate about sharing her years of wisdom and experience with other plant-based eaters so they can actually nourish their bodies and find peace and happiness about what they eat and who they are. Here's a sneak peek.
I started watching what I was eating and doing all these little things that with my weight and with my body. Like I would go in, when I was taking a shower, I would look at my feet, and if I could see my belly, I thought I was fat, so I wouldn't eat the next day. So I had these little tics, and I ended up battling anorexia at 11. And even as a vegetarian, I was never really healthy. I relied heavily on pastas and packaged foods. And it wasn't until I started seeing a nutritionist that whole aspect of my life changed.
Lisa Marie, thank you so much for being here today. I'm so excited to have you here, to have you share your wisdom and inspiration with the listeners. Can you start by sharing with them a little bit about yourself and how you got to the place you're at now?
Sure, and thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So at 11 years old, I decided that I just didn't want to eat meat anymore, and that's kind of where my food journey started. I was such an animal lover, and I believe we watched a video in school, and I came home and decided I'm not going to eat meat. I'm from a very big Italian family, so they were not on board with this at all.
Yeah.
So it took a lot of convincing, and there were a lot of long nights with my dad at the dinner table and a piece of steak. He really wanted me to get down. So it's been a journey with the vegetarianism, and they finally got on board with it, and they let me kind of do my thing. But at the same time, I started to lose a lot of weight and became really obsessed with my weight. And I started watching what I was eating and doing all these little things that with my weight and with my body. Like I would go in, when I was taking a shower, I would look at my feet, and if I could see my belly, I thought I was fat, so I wouldn't eat the next day. Or I would have we had these tiles in the shower, and I would line my body up to those tiles, and if my belly hit two of those tiles, then my whole day was ruined. So I had these little tics, and I ended up battling anorexia at 11. It lasted for a few months. I saw a lot of doctors, and then one day I saw a photo of myself that was taken a couple months before during the summer, and I didn't even recognize myself. I remember thinking how skinny I looked, and that it kind of just struck a nerve, and the whole physical aspect of it went away for a while, but mentally it stayed with me. So if my friends were eating candy at a movie, I could never enjoy that because I always felt that immense guilt that came along with that. And so for a while I was good. I went to college and everything was good there. But then I started eating out a lot more and eating really unhealthy foods, and I started gaining a lot of weight. And so when I moved into my own apartment, I kind of relapsed, and I started working out a lot. I did that when I was younger too. I would do obsessive working out. I would do 2-hour workouts in my bedroom.
You were 11?
So yeah, when I was 11, I remember taking my mom's DVDs, her workout DVDs in my room, and just locking myself in there for hours. And so that I relapsed into that as well when I moved into my own apartment, and I would eat steamed veggies, just a bag of steamed veggies for dinner, and not eat lunch or have a juice. So I definitely relapsed back when I was back in college. And then every time I relapsed, something just like struck in my mind, like, this is not good. You have to move past this. And I did. And now I'm fine for periods of time. And then, and something major will happen in my life. I had a big breakup, so I relapsed again. And then like the same thing happens. Something clicks and I see a picture of myself, or I see myself in the window, or I look at my face in the mirror, and I know that it's not healthy. So I move forward and I move on. Sure. And then, with the breakup, when I relapsed, when I was going through my big breakup, I found jewelry making, and that creative outlet kind of just helped me to get over that and to pour my energy into something else. And, I was never really healthy. And even as a vegetarian, I was never really healthy. I relied heavily on pastas and packaged foods. And it wasn't until I started seeing a nutritionist that whole aspect of my life changed. And then I started reading some blogs, and I found Underground Wellness, and I started researching GMOs and organic foods, and it changed my whole perspective on food. I used to say that I ate to survive, and that I never enjoyed eating. And hearing all these experts talk about foods and learning about organic food and seeing people who are blogging about vegetarian foods, and they look so delicious and they're healthy for you, that whole world was new to me, and it changed something inside of me. And I knew that I needed to be involved in health somehow. And I didn't want to be in conventional medicine. I knew that. So I enrolled in the transformational nutrition program, and I started Kale's My Karma. I want people to know that it doesn't have to be unhealthy or not taste good, or you don't have to stay with this negative cycle in your head. Right. That there's other options, and it's a lot more fun to live this way.
Absolutely. Well, that's incredible. I want to backtrack to a couple of the things that you mentioned. So when you decided at 11 that you were going to be a vegetarian, and your parents didn't necessarily support you, do you think they would have supported you more if you were older? Do you think it was because you were so young, or just because they don't believe in that?
Oh, I definitely think it was because I was so young, and I also think that at that time, vegetarianism wasn't popular.
Right, yeah.
And so I just think that they were nervous. I don't think that they understood how to feed someone that was a vegetarian. So they were concerned about my health and my protein. And, at the time that I'm going vegetarian, I'm also anorexic. Yeah. So I think both of those combined, they probably were just in a state of shock. I mean, they're awesome now. They totally support my lifestyle and everything. But I think at the time they were, as a parent, just so nervous about my health and just not sure what to do. Yeah. And it was how they grew up. It's the only thing that they knew.
Right. Did you have any inspiration to follow that kind of guided you in the choices that you were making, or is that a lack of that kind of what led to the malnourishment that you had?
There was no guidance. Actually, I loved magazines when I was younger, and I would just scour magazines looking for an article on vegetarianism or a recipe that was vegetarian. Something, like magazines have those like meal plans. Mm-hmm. I always wanted there to be a vegetarian one, and there never was. And in high school, I remember my health teacher saying, well, you can't get protein from vegetables. You need to get it from all these other sources. And so that contributed to me being super unhealthy too, because I'm going to the grocery store and thinking I need to get protein. So I'm reaching for a pack of food in the freezer section, a soy hamburger, right. And because it has 10 grams of protein and I need protein. I wasn't educated enough on the lifestyle that I was choosing. So it definitely was why I was malnourished.
Yeah. Do you think that love for the magazines that you had, do you think that contributed to your anorexia, or what influences do you think kind of triggered that to start for you at such a young age?
Well, a lot of things are going on. I was such a tomboy growing up. I just wanted to be one of the guys. I never wanted to wear a dress. Bras were absolutely not happening.
Yeah.
And I like developed really early, and I kind of got made fun of about my body. And to be so uncomfortable as it is, and then to have people making fun of how you're developing and comments about the size of your breasts and things like that, I think that was definitely a trigger. I wanted it all to stop. Yeah. I didn't want to have curves, or I didn't want to be a woman. I didn't want to be showing my body as a woman. Right. And so that definitely triggered the eating disorder.
So now that you do understand, like, being a vegetarian and how you can have that to become a complete diet for yourself, what things have changed? What do you eat now that you didn't before, or what processes do you use to actually stay nourished?
Yeah, so I definitely try more vegetables than I ever did before. My basic vegetables were broccoli and spinach, and those were always mixed with pasta. And so now the vegetable has become the main focus of the meal, and I've added in quinoa, which is awesome for protein. It's so good for you to have. I try other types of grains. I like to cycle in my grains, which I've never done before. So sometimes I'll do jasmine rice or millet, the quinoa. I do beans, but not as heavily as I used to do them. And, I shop at farmers markets now, so that way I can see what new vegetables are coming up to keep it interesting. I don't rely on packaged foods anymore. I do eat some packaged veggie burgers, but once you realize how easy it is to make your own vegetable burgers, the packaged stuff just doesn't taste as good anymore.
Right.
So I definitely don't use that much packaged foods anymore. I also added in a ton more nut butters, nut milk, things like that, and a lot of hemp, which wasn't as popular as it is now when I started. Yeah. But hemp is huge for my diet and huge for a vegetarian diet.
Absolutely. What do you feel like? Do you ever have trouble with the grains? Do you do any soaking of them, or what's what I'm looking for? Sprouting. Yes, that's what. Yes. Do you sprout your grains at all?
Yeah, I do. It's important to remove the phytic acid off of it, and I was dealing with some digestive issues like a couple months ago, and so that's a reason why I eliminated the beans. But soaking the grains definitely helps my body break them down a little bit easier.
Yeah.
So anybody out there that is having some bloating issues or digestion problems, that's a great option.
Yeah. What does that process look like for you? Is it the same for all grains, or do you change it? Is it a little different from grain to grain?
I usually do the same thing. I'll just soak them overnight and then change the water out in the morning and then put water in again, like fresh water in. And then when I get home and I'm ready to cook them, I strain them. But I usually follow the same process for all grains.
Yeah. Cool.
If it's going to be more than overnight, I'll put the grains in the fridge, but that would be the only difference.
Okay. Do you notice that the cooking time is different, or does it cook differently after you've done that?
Taste-wise, no. But some take a little bit quicker. Like if you're soaking your beans, the cook time is a lot shorter. Grains, I don't really notice a difference. That might be because I don't pay attention that much. I'm really bad with following time. I just put it on the stove and walk away for a while. But beans, I definitely noticed a big difference.
Yeah. Awesome. If you could give somebody 3 tips for how they could easily transition to a more plant-based lifestyle, what would they be?
Awesome question. I love this one. To start slow would be my first tip. You don't want to get caught up in the title of it. I think that's where a lot of the issues come from, because you want to be so rigid with it. But any elimination diet, I think, or restrictive diet, I feel that we want to just follow the guidelines so strictly, and we kind of lose something along the way.
Yeah.
So I would say to ease into it, give up some of the meats that really bother you when you eat them. For me, that was red meat. This is how I transitioned, actually. So I gave up red meat and hot dogs, and then slowly started giving up the chicken when I got more comfortable with my new diet.
Mm-hmm.
And, go with the things that you know that you like. You don't have to try kale at the beginning of your new diet if you're not comfortable with it and you've never cooked with it and you're not sure you even like the taste of it, but you love broccoli. It's okay to eat the broccoli.
Yes.
So start slow, make the changes slowly. My second tip would be to do some research. One of the major things that I hear is that a vegetarian diet is really boring. So you don't want to get trapped into that, and there are a ton of blogs and online resources that have great information, and they'll teach you about superfoods and new recipes and things that you don't know that aren't always visible in the grocery store, and just opens your eyes to so much more.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, finding a few blogs that you enjoy reading and looking at the photos and you want to try some recipes out, just to have that in your back pocket when you're first starting out until you're more comfortable with the lifestyle would be really great.
Yes, I agree.
And there's so much good information out there.
There
There's
really is.
cauliflower pizza crust. Who would have thought of that? Some blogger thought of that, and now it's a huge thing. So,
right.
You just gotta find that.
Yep. And be creative.
Yes, be creative. That's kind of what my third tip is, to just get more comfortable in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
I think a big part of why my diet shifted and my lifestyle changed so much was because I just got more comfortable there. I used to call my mom up when I had to boil water. I was terrible in the kitchen. I messed up Jell-O. I still can't live that one down with my family. But you got to get more comfortable in there. It's not serious. You just have to have fun with it. Throw something in the oven, flavors that you like, just throw them in the oven. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And if you put some rice with it, it might taste a little bit better,
Yeah.
Just have fun with it and just be comfortable in the kitchen and try new things. And, you'll be successful.
I agree. And I always say too, like the more real food you use, the better your chances of success skyrocket because you don't
100%.
have to do a whole lot with it. You don't have to be super fancy. And if you're starting with real stuff, it's going to have a lot of really good flavor and nutrients to begin with.
Exactly. You could steam broccoli and throw some lemon juice and some good quality sea salt on it, and you have a really delicious side dish.
Yep.
Something so simple.
Super easy.
Also, I would say for them to be more confident in their decisions, too.
That's a good one.
Because, a lot of people might come to you and have opinions. So many people have opinions on diets. It's one of those things.
Yep.
And just being confident in your decision and your reasons as to why you're doing this and making these lifestyle changes, it will just make things so much more easy.
Yeah. I always love to ask too, how does your social circle accept you kind of came into probably your grown-up circle a little bit differently than most people do since you started out so young, but how are your friendships impacted by the lifestyle that you have?
For the most part, it's great. Everyone is accepting of it. When we're booking a dinner, everyone will check the menu to make sure there's something for me to have. I usually bring something to parties at people's houses so that way they don't feel obligated to cook something for me.
Yeah.
But for the most part, everyone is pretty great about it. I still get the joke, well, it doesn't matter, you just eat grass anyway, so as long as there's a salad, you're fine, right? Things like that. But everyone's super accepting of it. And I also live in New York, so I think that makes it a little bit easier because the options there's so many options,
Well, and they're exploding right now. I feel like there's so many places popping up that really support more plant-based eating.
Yeah, so funny. I booked a steakhouse for my boyfriend and I to go to, and he's like, what are you going to eat there? And I was like, you'll be surprised. They have like 2 vegetarian options. They have a huge salad bar. Like, even a steakhouse is now catering to this lifestyle, which really says a lot.
Yeah. Do you find, like, since you originally made your decision to go vegetarian because of more of like a spiritual animal cruelty kind of point of view, have you had animal products since then? Do you feel like, do they negatively impact your health as well, or do you still kind of pretty much stick with it because of your original viewpoint?
I have not had meat. Accidentally, we were out one day and it was in my meal and I didn't know it. I didn't digest it or anything, so I spit it out immediately. So I haven't had meat since I became a vegetarian at 11, but I do incorporate some dairy products like eggs. I've gone vegan a couple of times in my journey on plant-based eating, but I always find that my body just doesn't operate the same way that it does when I do eat eggs. So that is one of the animal products that I do eat. I don't really do any dairy. Occasionally I'll have a high quality, non-hormone yogurt, like a Siggy's. But that's because when I took a step back, I was realizing that I was reaching for a vegan yogurt and it was filled with all these additives to get it to actually be a yogurt.
Yeah.
And if I just went for something higher quality that was non-hormone and no RGVH and all of that stuff and, organic, that I can eat that stuff and I didn't feel guilty about it.
That's so important, because I think a lot of times, whether it's a plant-based diet or a paleo diet, I think sometimes we get so hung up on the label and fitting it within a label versus, like, really, like you said, what is more real food? Like, if I want to go with the fake processed product, is that going to be better than if I just go with something that's a little more unprocessed?
Right. And I think people struggle with that because when you put a label on it, it becomes even more restrictive.
Yes.
So, I like to say that I'm a whole food vegetarian. And, I'll eat occasionally dairy, but I have to know the source of that dairy. I have to know where it's coming from, because if I'm going to buy fake cheese, I don't know where that came from.
Right.
And I know what's in there isn't the best for my body. And if my body can handle the dairy, why not?
Yeah. When you were 11, I mean, it might be kind of far back, but you said you lost a bunch of weight. Did you have a bunch of weight to lose, or was that just part of that slipping into the anorexia, or did you have other, like, health symptoms that changed or improved when you stopped eating the animal products?
I did not have a lot of weight to lose, which is why I think it spiraled so quickly.
Yeah.
Because I have a small build even now, so I didn't have a lot of weight to lose, and I think just naturally eliminating the meat from my diet just started taking off weight, and then it slowly spiraled into a messy situation.
Right, yeah. And I think you hear so many people go on to like a vegan diet and they feel awesome in the beginning. Unfortunately, I think so many people do it as more of like they just become carboholics and they don't actually, become like, they don't take the whole food vegan pathway. So I don't feel like it always lasts a long time.
Right.
So yeah, I think your tips are super important.
I'm a former carboholic. I love carbs still, but it used to be 90% of my diet, and that's why people fall off the wagon, or you hear about a lot of people gaining weight on plant-based diets because they don't know they're not balancing the foods correctly.
Right. Yeah. Well, and then there becomes, like you said, there's malnourishment because your body can only process and get so many nutrients out of processed foods, and you can't eat just carbohydrates and expect to get all the nutrients you need. You mentioned that through these relapses and kind of comebacks from your anorexia that you kind of you created jewelry as a way to kind of distract yourself at that one time. What other things were helpful for you in overcoming those negative thoughts?
Just being conscious of them. So if I'm standing in front of the mirror, because the thing with an eating disorder is that you can gain control of it, but you always have remnants of it in your brain. Mm-hmm. There's always something that'll pop up. So if I'm in front of the mirror and a negative thought comes up, I'm strong enough now to just walk away. Mm-hmm. So just being conscious of when these things come up and maybe trying to figure out why this is happening, like what else is going on in my life that could be contributing to these negative thoughts, mm-hmm. and just taking a step back. Meditating has been awesome for me because it allows me to just calm down and just take a minute and to focus on something more positive. Yeah. Getting into weightlifting has also helped because I want to be strong. I don't want to be skinny anymore. Mm-hmm. If someone called me skinny 10 years ago, I wanted to be different. Now, if someone calls me skinny, I kind of take that as an insult. I'm like, I work so hard. I'm strong. So just shifting that focus from skinny to strong. Yeah. It's done wonders for me. And I've talked to a lot of people and they feel the same way. Yeah. And also yoga. So on the opposite side of weightlifting, there's yoga, and yoga just teaches you what your body is capable of, and it's capable of amazing things. I never thought that I'd be able to do half of the things that I'm able to do now because of yoga. And it's also a different kind of strength. It is, yeah. You can lift heavy weights all day long, but when you get your forearm stand or something like that, you're just amazed at your body and the strength.
Yeah. My yoga teacher's always she comes into class and she posts these super cool pictures of herself bending into these positions, and she's always just so fascinated with the thought of what our bodies are capable of. And I think, like you said, when you shift to that perspective and think of how grateful you are for having a body that you can move that way and do things with, it just changes the whole perspective.
100%. Yeah, you said it perfectly.
So with your whole food plant-based eating, what are some of your favorite your favorite go-to options? Or I know you said you had some awesome video on your blog about your trip to the farm market and had vegetables I had never heard of. So that's pretty awesome.
The kohlrabi.
I had heard of that one. I don't even there were just some funky ones you had, and I was like, you know what, you inspired me. I was like, I always go to the farm market and I pick up the same things that I know and I'm familiar with, and I was like, this summer it needs to change. So
we have a game here. We always pick up a vegetable or a fruit or an ingredient that we've never cooked with before, at least once a month when we make our trip to the grocery store. So that way we are constantly trying new things.
I love that.
It's so fun because then we search for recipes and it leads to so many other things. It's just an awesome thing to do to incorporate new things into your diet.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because there's so many resources now where you might not have a clue what it is or what to do with it, but I guarantee there are hundreds and hundreds of options online of suggestions for it.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's, kohlrabi. I never heard of kohlrabi, and I picked it up one time on a whim. It looked really funny, and I was like, I really want to try this. And I did, and there were hundreds of recipes online. And also, it's one of those things, if you don't know what to do with it and it's a vegetable, roast it.
Yes.
You can't go wrong with roasting a vegetable.
Yeah. I think, too, it's just that I'm so inspired to do that because it's such a good way to get to know, what you like better. I mean, I feel like there's such a stereotype towards vegetables that they're boring and that they're bland and nobody likes them, but you can't, that's like saying you don't like cereal when there are hundreds of different kinds of cereals. You might like one and hate the other, but vegetables are the same. They all have their own flavors and textures, and they're pretty crazy once you get into them.
I know, right? And I feel like we kind of bring kids up to not like them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like broccoli. I feel like kids hate broccoli. But why? Like when you think about it, it's so fun to play with, like the little seeds. I think if we just put a different spin on it sometimes that, you know, we could really get kids to love vegetables. And like you said, there's so many different textures and flavors, and they're so easy to manipulate most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you don't like a texture, but you kind of like the taste, if you puree it, you can have any kind of soup that you want out of any vegetable that you want.
Yeah.
And it's an easy dinner to make. You know, you steam them and then you throw them in the blender with some spices, and you have a great meal.
Yeah.
So like you have to give them a try.
What are some of the go-to things in your household?
We always make a patty. So we've been really loving spaghetti squash this season.
Mm-hmm.
So we make some delicious, we call them pizza squash cakes, and we just throw some tomato sauce and some Italian spices like parsley and oregano.
Okay.
And we use the spaghetti squash and some nutritional yeast, which is great for vegetarians, a lot of protein, and some flax, and we just bake them in the oven. I have the recipe up on the blog.
Oh, perfect. We'll link to that.
Yeah. What else do we always have?
How do they stick together?
Okay.
Just
I use a flax egg.
Oh, the flax egg. Okay, cool.
The flax egg. And if you're not vegan or you don't mind using eggs, you can throw in a regular egg. I just like to switch it up sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
We always have a different kind of lettuce on hand. So like a microgreen, or we'll swap out spinach and kale and romaine. So we usually keep a rotation of that. And I love soup. I always make a soup. So I was making cauliflower puree soup last week. I love a good zucchini soup, and I thicken it up with some oats, which is great, instead of using like a heavy cream, so you don't have to go dairy, and it's really filling and delicious. And then we always have something with seeds. So sunflower seeds, we make these sunflower seed snack bites that are delicious. And you can make sunflower seed tuna, which is a great easy lunch. So I think like having a really great pantry built helps with the whole kitchen thing. But yeah, so, and like I said, a random vegetable is always on hand.
Awesome. If you had just 5 minutes to create better wellness for yourself, what would you do?
I would probably take that 5 minutes to meditate some more. Usually don't have the extra time in the morning that I would love to do that. And it's so powerful. If anybody out there hasn't tried it, it's something that I think everyone should give a try. And there's some great guided meditations that are really fun to do for anything. There's so many things out there, and there's topics that relate to specific things that are going on in your life. So it's such a great tool.
I agree, and so do others. That's like the number one answer for creating better wellness in 5 minutes. It's incredible. From one interview to the next, it's pretty.
Is it?
It's pretty much like I've had maybe like 3 other answers, but from all different kind of health experts. That's what they're all saying. So if you're not doing it, do it.
I used to resist it for the longest time. Like, I can't sit there for 5 minutes and not do anything and not think. Yeah. But if you try, it becomes an amazing tool, and it's just so great to have.
I totally agree. And that 5 minutes just starts to go faster and faster the more that you slip into it, easier and easier each time. It's just, with all things, it just takes a little bit of practice.
It does. And it's okay. And the thing is, I think that people think they're doing it wrong. Mm-hmm. And there's no wrong way to meditate.
Totally. I agree. You just gotta try, and you're going to be doing yourself a favor.
100%.
What is your most powerful health habit?
I think meal prepping is the most powerful health habit. Nutrition is number one. You can go to the gym and work out, but like they say, you can't outwork a bad diet. Mm-hmm. And when I don't meal prep, I don't eat the way that I want to eat. Yeah. So every Sunday, we do a big meal prep for the entire week, and we usually double batch some of our patties, so that way we have a freezer stocked at all times, that we don't have to go and grab something at a diner or something that we don't know how it was made. So, that's just one of those things that we always do, and it's part of our life.
Yeah.
Now we know every Sunday that 3 hours is going to be dedicated to cooking, and it doesn't have to be 3 hours, but we usually really enjoy the process and have fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one of those things that has made a huge difference in our lives.
Yeah. And I feel like there's such a benefit to meal prepping for just the sanity of having quick, easy options during the week. But the other part that I think I get even more excited about is the fact that there's only like one day to do dishes instead of having to do dishes every single time after all your meals.
I know, I feel the same way. Yeah. It's like one big cleanup in the kitchen, and you don't have to worry about it for the rest of the week.
Yes. Yeah, it's a lifesaver, a time saver for sure. Something I should probably be more in the habit of, but
it takes a while, right?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Lisa Marie. I'm so excited to share this with everyone. I know everybody's gonna get a lot of value from this, and I really appreciate your opening up and sharing the struggles that you've been through and the wisdom that you've learned from it. And I hope you can keep inspiring others.
Thank you so much. I had so much fun doing this.
Awesome. All right, we'll talk to you later.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for joining us for today's episode of Gather for Wellness Radio. We'd greatly appreciate if you'd leave a review over on iTunes, Stitcher, or the blog. And don't forget to share this episode with your friends, family, and on social media. We hope you'll join us for the next episode. But until then, keep being awesome.
The information on this podcast and on gatherforwellness.com is not intended to replace a one-on-one relationship with a qualified healthcare professional and is not intended to be taken as medical advice. Becky encourages you to make your own healthcare decisions based upon your research and in partnership with a qualified healthcare professional. The entire contents of this website and podcast are based upon the opinions of Becky Litwicki and her guests, unless otherwise noted. The information provided is for entertainment purposes only.